Welcome back to another Hall of Fame podcast. Today we are with another incredible member, Emma. And Emma's journey has been nothing short of dramatic. And we were just talking off air, if you will, about the journey. And we was even going through so much gold. I was thinking, I can't wait to come and revert back to this in a moment on the podcast as well. So Emma, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's so amazing to have you on. And just to give those listening a little bit of context, I suppose, about yourself, tell us a little bit, just a small synopsis of who you are.
Okay, so I'm 46, mum of two kids. I've got a teenager at 17 and a younger one at 7, so a bit divided there. Work, so I was working more than full-time hours, like excessive hours, up until December, hence why all the weight started to pile on, had no time for myself. And I just realised I couldn't live like that, so changed the job and then realised I had to also sort myself out. So that's when I found you.
Amazing. And we were just talking a moment ago as well, like we'll dive straight into this thing because it's insane, because we were just talking about your profile, your progress photo, and we just popped it up on the screen just before. And the thing that we spoke about is the difference between the two is crazy. It's absolutely unbelievable. But the thing for us that we was talking about that was really cool was the smile on your face. How does it feel almost looking at that photo? Like, 'cause it's the first time you kind of see them side by side, right? In detail. How does it feel looking at that photo?
I mean, I can't believe the difference. I mean, I know I feel different, but when I look at that photo, I can't believe I let myself feel that low from how I can see in my face. And by feeling low, do that to myself and my body, really. It's quite, when I look at that first photo, you think that's quite sad. It's quite sad. But yeah, thank God I'm where I am now.
No, of
Made
course.
the change.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does it feel like where you're at now? So I know when most people would usually look at a photo, you would usually look at the first one and go, how did I let myself get to that point, right? But instead of us going to the negative of where we was before, it's so important that we obviously celebrate where we're at now, right? Because that's the hard work you put in. How does it feel looking at, because we'll go through the negatives as well, because it's a part of everyone's journey, right? But how does it feel almost looking at photo 2 and going, wow, that's me now?
I'm so proud of myself there, and I don't say that lightly. I'm not somebody that, you don't get to feel proud of a lot of achievements when you're an adult, I don't think. But when I look at that, I feel really proud of the effort I've put in and the results I've got. And because of the results I've got, the smile is back on my face, because it's not only outward, it's inward. I feel really great as well, which was so important. But yeah, I feel back to how I felt in my 30s, which was really my whole aim. I think when I first had a conversation with you before I signed up, I think that was what I was saying, was I just don't even feel like myself. So yeah, I'm really chuffed with myself.
Too freaking right, because it's not like you've just kind of hit cruise control. I mean, you fucking work for it, right? Which is amazing. And I think you touched on already dropping absolute gold. You touched on a really important point there, where it's more how you feel internally, right? Because the external can obviously determine how we feel internally, but internally feeling confident and feeling comfortable and feeling energetic, is absolutely insane. So a massive credit to yourself there. So
thank you.
Whilst we're here, what kind of results have you seen? I know we mentioned we're proud of ourselves, but what have you experienced?
Yeah, so I mean, I've lost, I think it's about 24 pounds I've lost now since I signed up. So that's in about 4 months, which is amazing. Yes. But yeah, so obviously I've dropped a couple of dress sizes. Lovely trying on clothes I've had under the bed for the last 5 years that didn't fit, that now fit. But absolutely. I feel like I was so tired before I signed up. I was thinking it was all my hormones, perimenopause. This is doom and gloom from now on in. And I really thought that this was going to be how I felt. And now I've gone in this process, lost weight. I am energetic, not every day, but most of the time I'm energetic. I don't moan saying, oh, I'm so tired. I just feel good inside. Energetic. I feel happy. Stress is generally low. Sleep is still a bit hit and miss, but no, I just feel great. But I tell you, there's no better feeling than feeling confident, and that's the main thing. I think I've got back is a lot of confidence.
I couldn't agree with you more, because I feel like as well that confidence, and I've experienced firsthand myself as well. Like growing up, I was unconfident. I was just a super shy kid. But you know, going to the gym, when you get the confidence, it's almost like carries through to every other area of your life, right?
Yeah.
And I say this to most members as well. Even just jumping on this podcast, like if we was to say to Emma in photo one that I've got just here, you know, in 16 weeks, you're gonna jump on a podcast, talk about your journey, you probably would have went, "Okay, Freaks, what are you talking about?"
Yeah, I 100% would have told you to fuck off. So there's no way, there's no way I'm doing that. Like
Absolutely.
would not want to show myself anywhere. You know, like I would hide in the back. I'd put a kid in front of me to take a photo. Do you know what I mean? It was getting to that
Of
stage. So
course.
no, no way.
Absolutely. And I'm quite curious to know, like, do you feel like you would have got to this point as fast, I suppose, as you did, like within, you know, 16 weeks? Would you kind of expecting to kind of experience this kind of result?
No, I don't know if you remember, but I said to you, good luck if you think your plan is going to work for me. I really did not believe I could do it. I'd tried so many times to lose weight and gone round in circles. I mean, I can kind of understand more of the reason now that it's actually my fault for not being consistent. But that aside, but yeah, I really did not believe that signing up with Smart Body Performance was going to really give me the results I had. I thought I might lose half a stone, you know, but I really didn't know what to expect. So I'm
Oh,
flabbergasted myself.
oh, bless you. Oh, that's amazing. I suppose that's a good segue to kind of move on to like, what hesitations did you have before you started? So I know you just touched on like the actual self-belief side. So like, am I able to do this thing? What
Yeah,
other kind
yeah.
of hesitations did you have before joining? Because we all have them before starting something that's out of our comfort zone, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just wasn't sure how it was going to be different. I didn't, you know, I've signed up to not necessarily the same kind of thing that you offer, but, you know, online programs, but not as comprehensive. And I've done things off my own back, you know, like I've exercised or been really interested in nutrition my whole life, my whole adult life. So I kind of had ideas like how to train and things like that. But I just, yeah, I just couldn't do it. But yes, I was hesitation, a bit of hesitation as to whether I'd get the results. Obviously, spending the money because it's, you know, it's not a cheap
Yeah, of
thing to do
course.
to invest in yourself. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that was really the hesitations. But yeah, just
Absolutely.
whether
And
it was going to work.
of course. And naturally, you know, we will feel like that when we're in a moment and a position where we naturally lack self-confidence, right? Because
Yeah,
that self-confidence carries through, like we've just touched on, to so many other areas of life. So if we're internally feeling unconfident, it's probably like, okay, if I try to do this thing from a fitness perspective, can I do it? Or if I try to go for said promotion, can I do it? But then when you
yeah.
go through that journey, it's like, you fucking chuck anything at me. I'm running through brick walls and I'll get that shit done, right? Do you almost feel like
Yeah,
that's how you feel now?
yeah. And I just thought, you know, I've paid, you know, to join, and I'm just gonna. I did it just. I started, didn't I? Just after I came back from holiday, and I thought I am gonna hit
Italy, I
this
remember.
hard, and I'm gonna give this my all because I was sick to death, as you can see by that first photo, as to, you know, being and living like that. I didn't want to feel bad anymore in myself. So yeah, I did. I thought I'm gonna give this
Course.
everything. So and it's been great.
You've done just that. You have given it absolutely everything. And I think that's an important topic to actually talk on, right? Because I think on social media that there's two kind of camps. There's people that go, this is like the only way you can transform is by making it so difficult and eating avocado and raw testicle 15 times a day. And that's the only way you're going to do it. Then there's the other camp where it's like, oh, it's easy. It's a doddle. You just got to do this and you'll transform. But I feel
It's
like
not
it's just,
easy.
no, it's not. No, absolutely not. And you know, although you don't have to give up your lifestyle, you got to work hard, right? Like you got
Yeah,
to put the hours in the gym when you go,
that's
right? You
it.
got to
I think
make
you've got to.
sacrifices and
Yeah, you've got to make yourself accountable. Like only you can make the changes. Like you've given me like a brilliant plan. You're there for support, but only I can implement and other members can implement those changes and
absolutely.
really want to change. So yeah, you have to want it. It is hard, but do you know what? It's not as it sounds bad, but the dieting side of it actually isn't that hard. Sometimes
That's the
it's
goal.
sometimes it is, don't get me wrong. As you know, I've
Of
thought,
course.
fuck this, I'm going to have all the margaritas and the pizza or whatever. But it's not the end of the world if you do that. And I think that's what I've had to
Absolutely.
really learn. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to say, sod it, I'm going to, go off plan forever. But you can live a normal life. And I think that's quite shocking.
Of course. I suppose the question I have then is, let's say, for instance, like, let's rewind, right? We're sitting there in December when or no, not in December, a little bit after, when we had our first chat, right? Just before you went to Italy. If we could
Yeah.
say, like, this is going to be you in 16 weeks and you were still able to, enjoy, foods and, have the odd, like, glass of wine or whatever it may be, would you have believed it, or would you went, yeah, a bit too good to be true?
Yeah, I did. I thought it would be too good to be true. Like, I didn't think I would be able to actually fit in having a normal life. So on a Friday, I can have a vodka or two, and you know, you can't go mad. You can't go like drink endlessly
Absolutely.
or eat endlessly, but you can factor in treats really easily. Um, you know, so I didn't think it was that, but no, I didn't believe it. I have generally
Absolutely.
stayed away from wine on most occasions, though.
Yeah,
Too many
absolutely. But I think,
calories.
yeah, no, it does add up, right? But I think it's quite funny. People say, I've been trying to transform, been doing it or been yo-yoing for years and years and years. And I go, "All right, let me take a guess. I'm going to shoot in the dark here. Tell me if I'm in the right lines. Have you tried to give everything up and in 3 weeks' time you go, oh, this ain't for me? They go, sounds about right. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
maybe that's the sticking point, right? Like, for it to be sustainable, you need to be able to enjoy yourself. And if you go, I'm going to cut certain things out, but it makes me feel amazing and I enjoy that more, brilliant.
yeah,
But if you
yeah.
don't enjoy that more, you will revert straight back to square one. So it's about finding that happy medium between optimal health, but also optimal enjoyment. Because, like, there's a saying for me that I absolutely love, and it's things that are good in theory and things that are good in practice. And in theory,
Yeah.
we would absolutely love for you to eat absolutely perfectly 24/7 all the time, because it's inevitable that you're going to feel amazing. But after 3 weeks, when you can't do that anymore, and then you go back to square one and you have that all or nothing, and that yo-yos for years, is that optimal for health? Or are we going 3 weeks great, 8 weeks absolutely awful, feel like shit, 3 weeks great, 8 weeks, and it just bounces in and out, right? So
Yeah,
I think,
100%. That was me
allow,
before I joined. That was me. I would do something
yeah,
for about a month and then I wouldn't really get the results I wanted. And I'd think, oh, this isn't working. And so I'd scrap it, go completely the other way and back to where I
absolutely.
was, if not a bit bigger.
Absolutely. And that's something I think you've done so well. Like, you've had such a great balance. You haven't taken the piss with it, right? Because, like, if you're having a treat, it's not like, I'm gonna have a treat, I'm gonna have five, I'm gonna have 10, fucking have 25. What? Like, you've been sensible with how you're doing it. So you've been able to enjoy, but you've also been able to stay on track. Right. And I
Yeah,
think that's something that's not easy to do, but something you've done really, really, really well. So amazing work there.
thank you.
Across your journey, what else would you say that you I suppose have learned? And I put you on a spot here a little bit. What else would you say that you've almost learned, that you've gone, okay, I can kind of didn't know this before, or I didn't understand this to the point I do now, that's been a big difference in your journey?
I think that I am really accountable for everything. Although I am of a certain age and heading towards the lovely menopause and all that sort of stuff, and I could blame hormones and things like that, but actually, no, it's down to me and it's down to my mindset. And
Of
although those
course.
things play in and you can have symptoms and things like that, but most of my symptoms were down to me being unhappy, too stressed, not sleeping, and not eating the right
Absolutely.
diet. I think, and the thing I also really is like, you need to eat a lot more protein than I would have ever believed. I've been put on high protein diets before and things like that, and it didn't really make much difference. But at this age, having the high protein really balances out
Yeah,
hormones, and
absolutely.
so that makes a massive difference, as well as the fact you're not hungry all the time. It's hard to
100%.
play
Yeah.
around and to fit it all in, but yeah, they're the big things I've learned really: mindset and yeah, eating a lot of protein.
Of course. And I think something you touched on there again, which your listeners will take a lot of value from, is when you're in that perimenopausal, menopausal kind of area. And I think a lot of the time people will look at that, and it's a completely valid excuse, but they'll use it as gospel and go, oh, man, I can't transform. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just me now. I remember, I know you said listen to Mel's podcast. Well, like, she would have people go, maybe this is you now. She's thinking, I don't want it to be me though, right? So
yeah.
oftentimes we kind of look at it and go, oh, that's the reason why I can't transform. But the mindset shift that's really important is to flip it on its head and go, maybe that's the reason I should transform, and maybe that's the reason I should focus more on my body, on my health, and on my performance, right?
Yeah,
Because although inevitably we are at a slight disadvantage just due to hormones, metabolism, and so forth, it doesn't change the laws of how we get in shape, right? It just means we have to be a little bit more strategic with certain targets. And I think that's all the way from 30s up, but it just hits us heavier as we obviously, continue to age, because when we get older as well, what we'll notice is not just the metabolism slows down, usually we slow down. Energy is a
yeah,
lot lower, hormones are a little bit more all over the place. So naturally we move a lot less. And it sounds silly, but like there's so many studies that show it as well, down to literally, you see how I'm just chucking my hands around here just as I'm talking, right?
yeah,
As we get older and as energy dips, the body language is a little bit more like this. So when I'm not really moving myself or moving my body or doing body language, and down to the small minute details of blinking, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's how the body works, we burn considerable less amount of calories just at
mm,
rest and just at NEAT, so non-exercise activity thermogenesis, how much we move, right? So
yeah,
I think the thing that you've done that's really, really commendable is gone, actually, I ain't going to use anything as an excuse. I'm going to go, right, I'm going to feel how I did in my 30s and I'm going to take this thing by storm, right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I actually, before I joined, I'd had a blood test because I was so tired. I thought I've got to have low iron or I've got to have
I
something.
remember, yeah.
And everything came back normal. And I was just in a rage about it. I just thought, how? I don't understand.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
all these things just makes me thought, no, I have to do something about this. This is down to me. And yeah, and that's, yeah, how I signed up.
100%. And what else have you noticed has had a big impact on your energy, right? Because I know we said sleep is still a bit hit and miss, right? And it's always going to be, like you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. We just want to control it as best we can, right?
Yeah.
How would we say, like, for those listening, is there anything in particular that you found, that you've done, that you've experienced that's had a big impact on your energy every day?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously getting sleep, the right amount of sleep is like paramount to everything. Like, if you don't have the right amount of sleep or you get broken sleep, that makes me feel, I can plow through, but you're not as productive in your day. Workouts are
100%.
harder, your patience is less. I think that has a knock-on
Considerably.
effect. So yeah, trying to prioritize a good sleep routine is really good for energy, but also eating the right thing. So although yes, you can have whatever you want really if you can fit it in with your macros and calories, but if you prioritize, better quality food, I think
Yes.
that has a big impact. Like if I
Yeah.
just ate, Snickers bars all day long, which would be lovely, but I'm going to feel rubbish. I
You
think,
feel crap. Yeah.
yeah, having good meals, so like, you can have snacks, but have good meals that are,
Nutritious meals. Yeah.
yeah, nutritious and got protein in, that keeps you going as well, I think. But
A
does
hundred
me anyway.
percent. No, I totally agree. And one thing, a saying I quite like is, take it with a pinch of salt, but calories dictate your weight and macros dictate how you look and feel, right?
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
don't have the right macros and the right and micros as well, of course, but if you don't have the right nutrition, you're gonna
yeah,
feel, you might lose a load of weight, but you'll also lose a load of muscle. Your metabolism will therefore slow down considerably. You feel sluggish as hell. You'll stop going to the gym, and those pounds will pile themselves back on,
yeah,
right? So coming back to what we mentioned about 5 or so minutes ago, it's that balance. It's 90, maybe a little bit more percent of the time, I'm going to be good. I'm going to have good,
yeah.
highly nutritious foods because it's enjoyable. You can have fun with good foods, right? And then
Yes, you
5 to
can.
10, maybe 15% of the time, maybe it's a date night, maybe it's a takeaway, maybe I'm out with the kids, and I'm getting an ice cream. Like that part of the time, I'll have foods I might enjoy, but it's just making that a smaller percentage so we feel great and we make room for the
Yeah,
enjoyable stuff.
yeah, definitely. It's like where I was, I just said I had a bit of a staycation the last week or so. And like there was one week where I actually didn't track for a few days. I had treats, I had drinks, I was
Yeah.
out, days out with the kids, and I had a balance. I would still eat a good breakfast and lunch, but maybe I'd have something, you know, not on plan for dinner or, but I managed to maintain my weight, and that was really good because it means the knowledge is in there. It's becoming intuitive what I need to do to have a
That's it.
balance, which is, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, the intuitive part is a massive one there. Like the biggest thing we can do to keep a result for life is make it second nature. So the
Yeah,
things we do to transform, we just do naturally. Like, for instance, we're having this chat here. I'll have my bottle of water right next to me. The lid's off, so it always makes that ease of use. And I know it's a silly little trick, but it works for me. But this little habit, I probably had about 5 or so of these today because it just sits there on my desk. And the first thing I do is I walk in, I get an electrolyte, I put it in my drink. I don't think about doing it. My arm just reaches for the cupboard to get the electrolyte. I just put it, it just happens, right? And
Yeah.
it's just that habit, it's just that intuition, it's just that second nature. And that is massive for a result. And to rewind slightly, just because you touched on such a good point, which is massively important for the listeners as well, as sleep, right? Like, it is the big domino to your transformation, and it's so underrated in just how much I would go as far as saying sleep is the number one target to get
Yeah.
the best transformation, like the number one.
Yes.
And that doesn't matter if you're 80, 40, 28, like sleep is the foundation, right? So did you find working on that had one of the biggest differences for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had like quite a good sleep routine. Like, I like to go to be like going to sleep by 10, half 10, and with my job, I tend to be up by 6:30, really,
Yeah,
anyway. So, and I don't that doesn't really change too much at the weekend. Maybe sometimes a bit later, but it's the yeah, trying to not look at my phone when I go to bed, and yeah, but I
yes,
definitely, and I notice if I've had a bad night's sleep for whatever reason, I can wake up, I get restless legs, so I can wake up and my legs won't stop twitching, which
100%.
is really annoying. But like the scale will be a bit heavier in the morning because if I have
Yeah,
a bad sleep for no other reason, usually other than I know I've slept bad. So
yeah.
it really has a knock-on effect on your whole physiology, I
100%.
think.
I couldn't agree more. And just for like quick fire takeaway tips for the listeners, a couple of things you do for sleep. Number one, the biggest thing that I love is a reverse alarm. So an alarm that goes off 45 or so minutes before you go to sleep. So for me, I try to be in bed trying to go to sleep by about 10. So at 9 o'clock usually is my reverse alarm. So that will go off. And then that reminds me, right, the phone goes down. I don't look at that no more. It reminds me that I start to, sounds silly, but like dim the lights, or if I am
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
laptop, I put my blue light blocking glasses on and I just try to get into a sleep state. So come 10 o'clock when I call into bed, I can pretty much hit the pillow and go, right? Because that reverse alarm's a big one. Sleep hygiene, so environment, mattress, pillow, light in the room. They say the perfect temperature is 18.5 degrees Celsius. I'm not saying you got to get a thermometer and make sure it's perfect, but like not too hot, not too cool. These small little things can make the world a difference, right?
Yeah,
But
they
I
do.
won't I won't bore people too much with sleep because we want to talk about Emma's journey
And
primarily.
there's
So,
the special guest thing that I listened to the other day that was about sleep as well. So that was
of
quite useful.
course,
That's on your members' website.
absolutely, yeah. So Emma's just referring there to we bring special speakers on to talk about their area of genius, if you will. We had Gary Ullman talking about sleep, and that it's an amazing listen. So yeah, it's a bit of an exclusive one for our members, that one. But yeah, so I could not agree with you more. And something for me that I think so amazing when we're looking at the bigger picture of a transformation is obviously for parents, right? And the impact it has, not just on you, but the knock-on effect it has to your children as well. When they look at you in amazing shape and being confident and being healthy and think, okay, it's cool to be healthy. It's cool to be
Yeah.
confident. And how do you feel like from a perspective of being a role model to your children? Do you feel like they've taken on some of the good habits you're practicing?
They definitely have taken on zero good habits so far. Zero, zero. But my 7-year-old, 7-year-olds are brutal, brutal critics. Like, he would tell me, "You're fat. Look at that big tummy. Look at that big butt." Like, he was brutal. And now he tells me that I'm much smaller. And, like when I say I'm
Oh,
going out to get steps and things like that, like, he's really aware of what I've been
that's
doing. Like,
amazing.
and that I'm doing it to be healthy. But yeah, 7-year-olds are
Oh,
harsh.
yeah. Yeah, well, I was about to say, he sounds like I hope he's not in my comment section. He'd be bullying me as well. But no, that's
Probably.
absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. That's amazing. But I think the word you touched on there is awareness, right? Like, he's aware. Okay, cool. If I want to be healthy, I do steps. Like, I'm aware, right? And
Yeah.
mummy now looks, as he would say, your tummy's bigger, but now it's smaller. So he can see the things you're doing and the result it
Yeah.
kind of has off the back of it, right?
Yeah, he definitely can. Because obviously with doing like the steps and working out, it does take time away from your family.
Of course.
But and so he's aware of where I'm going and why I'm going, and actually he will shoo me out the door just to get me out of his face so he can play on his computer for a bit longer. So he's all happy.
Yeah, he sounds like a genius to me as well. It's what
He
most
is, he
people do at
is.
that age,
He
right?
is master
Uh,
genius, yeah.
but I think that's one thing I say as well is a lot of time people go, would it take me much time to work out? And I say it'll take you less time than the time they'll probably add onto your the years you add onto your life. So if you
Yeah.
spend, I usually say if you spend on average 1.8% of your week, which is about 45 minutes times three. So 45 minutes workout, let's say that's your average, right? But if that alongside the rest of your targets adds 5 years to your life,
Yeah.
quite a fair
Yeah.
exchange, right?
No,
I'll take that.
no, and I love it. Like don't get, it's not always easy to go and motivate yourself to go and lift
Of
weights when
course
you
not.
know you're going to be grimacing and pulling faces, and especially in this heat, sweating away. But no, I love it.
Absolutely.
It's like time to yourself. It's actually time for yourself to
Yeah.
do good for yourself, really. And like I'll just put a show on, like your phone or whatever, and just listen to that or listen to music. No, it's nice. It's actually, yeah, God, I
100%.
get more time to myself now. I'm prioritizing myself than I ever have before. So it's
I
good.
was about to say, when you have kids and stuff, it probably is a case where you think this is my me time. Like I need to,
Yeah, yeah,
I need to make the most of this time. I might
yeah.
work out
Like
for
those
5 hours in here.
steps. Steps, I'm flying out the door.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you need motivation to get your steps in for those listening, have kids. You'll be out the door before quicker than
Yeah,
anyone else can make you go, right?
yeah. An hour to listen to a podcast wandering around on your own is bliss. Yeah, bliss.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hopefully a lot of people are listening to this probably on their podcast. So if you need an excuse to continue, just rewind and rewatch it again and just make it out as if you've got to redo the whole podcast on your walk. You
Yeah,
get more steps in and you get
yeah,
more alone time.
yeah, definitely.
Oh no, that's absolutely amazing. And like one thing I want to revert back to, just because I want to really emphasize just how amazing that transformation journey is. For those who are watching this, I'll put this up like to pop up as well. But for me, the thing that I'm so proud of you for achieving as well is when you just look at the smile on your face in those photos. Like we said just before we started, how a picture paints 1,000 words. And,
Yeah,
we also said a lot of the time as well is you can never get a full picture on just a photo or just on like a 90-second clip, which is why I love these videos, because you can get the good, bad, and the ugly, right? But
hmm,
when you kind of look at a progress photo like that, you can see the smile on your face and you can just see how much it means to you. I think that for me, like I'm looking in this direction now because I'm literally just looking at it here. It is just, apart from the tan,
my
we'll let you get
t-shirt
away
tan.
with
Sorry.
the dodgy, the dodgy tan. It's just amazing. And not only do you look so much slimmer in the face, but you just look so happy. Like you look
Yeah,
so happy. So for those listening, if you really want a bit of motivation to join, as in like your own transformation journey, whether you're just watching YouTube, whether you're just getting motivation from this podcast, like just start your own transformation journey. One thing I think we can probably take from Emma's transformation here is how happy you just feel day to day when no one's
yeah,
around. When it's just you, you're like, it feels great when you're wearing a dress and you're at a work Christmas do, right? Like that speaks for itself. But when you're sitting there by yourself, watching a bit of telly and you think, do you know what? I feel good, right?
yeah.
Out of 10, how good does that feel?
That's like a 10. That is a 10. I mean, that is priceless, that feeling. To have like inner confidence, to feel great, to feel happy, and yeah, to feel just back to feeling driven and yeah, like I can do this. Like I can continue to do
100%.
this. So it's good. It's invaluable. I just, when I look at that
Absolutely.
first photo, I just think, who the hell was that? And why was that imposter around for so long? Yeah, terrible.
How long, that's a good question. How long would you say that was you for? Not necessarily like that exact photo, if you will, but
I
that
Yeah,
feeling.
because it started. Yeah, so my son, like I said, is 7. So, and I went back to work to my job that was like 60 plus hours a week. 1 month after I had him. So that was a culmination of the last 7 years up until that
Yeah.
point where I was so busy, I had no time for myself ever. And, I try and fit in a few workouts or try and diet, but nothing consistent because I just couldn't stick to it while I was that busy with work. So I couldn't prioritize myself. But yeah, so that's about
100%.
7 years. That is about 7 years.
Absolutely. And like for instance, if you was to kind of like give advice to the person who was doing 60 plus hours, somewhat new mother, what would you kind of say to that person, right? Because we can, no matter how busy we are, we can make better decisions with nutrition. We can
Yeah.
prioritize our sleep where we can. We can maybe try and move our body just a little bit more between calls and times that we can. What advice would you give to the person 7 years ago who's completely, I would maybe say, neglected herself for career and motherhood, and I suppose putting her at the bottom of her priority list? What
Yeah.
advice would you give to Emma 7 years ago?
Just don't do it. Like the motherhood, obviously, that's great. That bit's great. But the job, I don't know.
Of
I would
course.
have said to you, what do you really want? Can you
Yeah.
sustain living like this for forever? For 20 years? What's it?
Mm.
Yeah. Like, it's very difficult when you become a parent though, because you instantly become number two, at least number two.
Yeah,
And
of
so
course. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
always harder to prioritize yourself. But to prioritize yourself over work to that extent and to become that unhappy should never happen, really. And I
Yeah,
think it just took a long time for me to realize what I was doing to myself. It's like a slow accumulation of neglect, really, which is,
absolutely.
it makes me quite sad to even think about, to think that that's what happened. But yeah, it was. And so, no, I mean, it took me till last year to really realize what I'd done and how unhappy I
Yeah.
was, and that, yeah, I couldn't change. So, really, you have to make time for yourself, no matter how busy you are, no matter what you've got going
Yes.
on. You have to figure on that priority list or that to-do list at some point, and it shouldn't be at the very end when there's nothing left. It should be
100%.
higher up.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, one thing that's important to recognize that for those, because we have a lot of members that are crazy busy, right? And a lot of people listening that are
Yeah.
crazy busy. There's probably a bunch of people in the live that are crazy busy, right? And you can still freaking transform when you're crazy busy. It's still like you look at people like, for instance, Richard Branson, the fella that
Yeah.
owns Virgin. The fella's in good shape. Look at Jeff Bezos.
He
Like I see a
looks
picture of him on his
old
yacht the
guy,
other
doesn't
day, and
he?
he was shredded. And I thought, what the hell is Jeff Bezos doing? Like the busiest people in the world can make that shit work. So can we, right? So
Yeah, yeah, it's priorities. It's literally,
yeah,
you have to prioritize yourself and you have to fit yourself in there.
absolutely. And when it comes to prioritizing ourselves, if we need a little bit more reasoning to prioritize ourselves, if you will, when you prioritize yourself, and I recognize this firsthand myself as well, especially when COVID hit, because I actually was taken into A&E because I passed out with what I think was
That's
burnout or stress.
insane.
And what I recognized was COVID just hit. And I thought, oh my God, like our members must be, from a mental health perspective, like I just need to be there all the time with everyone. So
Yeah,
the hours I was doing I couldn't even put it into words. And I got to the point where I was so unhealthy, not necessarily because I was eating loads and loads of crap food, but I did not do anything for me. Like from downtime, non-existent. My
yeah,
relationship had a strain because naturally I was just locked away in my little spare room that I called my office to just be on calls with everyone. And I didn't work out for the first couple of weeks because I was just trying to navigate this new COVID thing. And where I crashed, my productivity was zero. Like
yeah,
when I look at it, I just look at a blank laptop screen, and what now takes me an hour would take me 6 hours then, because I just couldn't concentrate. So as soon as I put myself higher on my own priority list, all of a sudden I had so much more for everyone else. It's like, wow, I can pour more of me into everyone around me because I
yeah,
have more. So like as
yeah,
a parent, it's like, you're always number two for your kids, right? But you also can't pour from an empty cup. If you're, firing from all cylinders, your energy's through the roof, you feel unstoppable, like you have so much more you can give to your children or your partner or your friends or your family, right? So
yeah,
for those listening who put themselves at the bottom of the priority list because they're such a selfless person, being a little bit more selfish gives you the ability to be more selfless because you can give more to those around you. Would you agree?
yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's like the most caring thing you can do for yourself and your family. Like to continue as you are. I mean, you're just doing everyone harm. I mean, I used to finish work, like, and I'd be forever saying, no, in a minute, I can't do it yet, in a minute. And that in a minute would never come. And then when I did
100%.
eventually stop working, you'd just sit on the sofa because you couldn't be bothered to do anything else, and probably with two wines or more. And it would just be a vicious cycle. But now, I've made time for myself. I prioritize myself. Like if my kids want me to do something, I can say, yeah, I'm going out to do this. Why don't you come with me? Or, there's just
Yeah.
much more to life, I think, than what you have if you're not prioritizing yourself, I think.
I could not agree with you more. And it's just quality of life as well, right? Like
Yeah.
So many people, are so busy, caught up in a day to day that they forget to actually enjoy the moment, have a good quality of life, and just move well, feel good, and be well, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
such a big emphasis on not just like, the chat we're having, but it's just the bigger picture of a transformation. And when you see the bigger picture, your motivation goes through the roof,
Yeah,
right? But
definitely.
one thing I would love to touch, and just coming towards the back end of this podcast here, Emma, is what would your advice be? And I ask this for most of our members, and I want you to be completely honest, right? What would your advice be to either somebody who's on the fence of starting their transformation journey, or a different kind of way you could frame it is, what's your advice to Emma 16 weeks ago, like who's maybe going, oh, I don't know if I should do this thing. I don't know if I want to invest into myself. I don't know if my priorities are high enough on my list. What would your advice be to that person?
I think somebody would just need to decide, are you worth it? Like, are you worth it? Do you want to stay as you are? And if the answer is no, then you've really got to make a change. And, keep yourself accountable. Like, if you do not want to stay where you are, there has to be a change made. And only you can do that. And only you can decide that. And to what level of change you can make and fit in. But yeah, it's basically, do you want to stay as you are? I think is really the biggest motivation. And if
I
people are
couldn't agree more.
unhappy, the answer has always got to be no, isn't it?
100%. And the sad thing is, people will spend months just looking in the mirror, picking themselves apart, pinching the bits that they feel is a bit flabby, and going,
Yeah.
get to that at some point. And that some point just never comes. Like for yourself, for instance, that some point was 7 years.
Yeah,
And
it was. It was 7 years of negative talk and just feeling rubbish, but feeling like, oh, I will lose this, I will lose this. But just the months, years went on before I was really ready to face what I was doing. I think it's a sad thing, isn't it? It's a hard thing.
it is. It's because, like, tomorrow never comes. I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'll start tomorrow. One little
And the months
slogan.
go so quick.
Oh, fly by. I bet that 7 years flew. I bet it feel like, 7 days for the most part, right?
It
And
does. It goes by so quick. And each Christmas, you get the January, New Year, New Me kind of attitude. And then, by February, you think, let's have another wine.
100%. And the next January, I'll get back on it, right?
Yeah, that's it. And then
Still
another
with the
year's
Monday
gone.
culture. Absolutely. There's a saying from Nike, that one of their adverts one time was like, yesterday you said tomorrow. And it's
Yeah.
really good because it paints a bit of a picture, right? But Emma, from my end, I want to say a huge thank you for allowing us to be a part of your journey, because, I know we're not done yet, but it's been one hell of a journey so far. The transformation you've achieved is absolutely out of this world, and it's nothing short of amazing, just due to the hard work and effort you put in. Because like you say, we can only lead a horse to water. You're the one who's picking up the dumbbell and putting the food in your mouth, right? So
Yeah.
you should be, because we're really proud of you, but you should be really proud of yourself, because it's
Oh,
not easy,
thank
like you
you.
said.
No, it's
It's
not
it's
easy,
not
but
like you're
thank
striving
you.
for a
And
stroll in the
thank you for
park.
listening to all my moans and whines at different times.
That's the best part of it, because if it was all, plain sailing, it wouldn't be real, would it?
No, no, it wouldn't. But yeah, thank you for no, and thank you for all your knowledge and help and advice. It's like it's invaluable. Like you've improved my life forever going forwards because I signed up. So I'm very grateful.
Well, thank you so much. And for those listening, if you are not feeling right now like you want to bloody run through a brick wall, I don't know what you're doing, because Emma's just dropped some absolute valuable knowledge bombs. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll see everyone in the next episode.
Thanks.